wonders and they say, "What is this Israeli army?" he said. "Where did it come from? It's been here all along, but we had to come back to our state and rekindle that spirit. Be proud Jews. Stand up and be proud. Stand with Israel. Do this in Sydney and do it in Jerusalem, and come this year to Jerusalem." It may be that this was a speech he'd given 1,000 times, but the passion with which he delivered it registered with every student in the room, and not one of them will forget it as long as they live. The following night, President Joko Widodo and his wife Iriana joined us for dinner at our home. It was a busy week for international visits. The four of us had become good friends since our first meeting in Jakarta in 2015. We'd met at all the regular international conferences and spoke on the phone from time to time. My earlier conviction that Jokowi was one of the most important leaders in the world had only strengthened. Our friendship was helped by several of Jokowi's colleagues, Tom Lembong, a key economic minister, and Retno Marsudi, his dynamic foreign minister. Over the course of my prime ministership, Indonesia-Australia relations reached their closest level of understanding and cooperation. During dinner at our house on the 25th of February, Jokowi and I agreed on reducing Indonesia's tariff on Australian sugar, as well as our reducing the tariff on Indonesian pesticides, and we confirmed our commitment to an Indonesia-Australia Free Trade Agreement, known as the IA-CEPA. The Indonesian business community and government were very fond of regulation and protection, and only the President's leadership could push a deal through a thicket of vested interest. Jokowi and I got to know each other well enough to talk frankly about the political currents in both Indonesia and Australia that were sceptical of the other. This was particularly prominent in Indonesia, where our 1999 military intervention, at the request of the UN to support East Timor's independence, was readily interpreted as part of a grand plan to break up Indonesia, with West Papua, the next province, to be split off. Jokowi knew this was paranoid stuff, but nonetheless, wherever I could, I repeated our support for the territorial integrity of Indonesia, and frankly, we had no interest in any more bankrupt, let alone failed states in our region. The goodwill we built up together enabled us not only to get the IA-CEPA and a comprehensive strategic partnership agreed, but also considerable enhancements in our security cooperation. After all, our whole border protection tactic of turning back boats depended on the willingness of the Indonesians to cooperate. As two couples enjoying each other's company, our shared interests from business to leading cities and countries to life on the world stage made for easy conversation. Infrastructure was a frequent topic, especially urban planning and mass transit. Our get-togethers were always relaxed and recorded in many selfies taken on our terrace in Sydney. The second last week of March 2017 saw the passage of our childcare reforms, steered through the Senate by Simon Birmingham. It wasn't popular with the more affluent members of the community, but it enabled us to ensure more parents were able to stay in the workforce after their children were born. A family on an average household income of $107,000, with 2 children in long daycare 3 days a week, would be nearly $2,000 a year better off. Labor, for reasons I couldn't fathom, opposed these reforms, but on any view they represented an increased investment in childcare that was better targeted at the low and middle income families who most needed government assistance. Given that increasing female participation in the workforce was an important part of our jobs and growth economic plan, this was a much needed reform. I had a hectic international agenda in the first 5 months of 2017. Not only did we have visits from Indonesia, China, Sri Lanka, Afghanistan and Israel, I also visited PNG, New Zealand, Jakarta, Singapore, India, Iraq, the UAE, Afghanistan and the United States. At the same time, I was trying to wrangle the budget into shape, keep the party from splintering over same-sex marriage, and of course